All right. Hello, everyone. We are live for another Mental Health Monday. I am super excited to have another time with you all and another time with Uncle Isaiah. I know he over there with his coffee cup all warmed up. I'm over here with my good old agua. And so we're going to have a good time tonight and just talk about understanding a woman. But I thought it would be neat to hear about understanding a woman from a man's perspective. And so that's what we're going to do tonight. Let me just make sure that I see that Facebook is going. And I wanted to make sure that that was happening and there were no issues with that. So I see we're live on Facebook. And then we also should be live on YouTube. So we're really excited about being able to bring this content to you live and to make the content accessible to the deaf community. That is one of my top priorities, is to make sure that mental health content can be more accessible to the deaf community. So I really appreciate Carmi being our interpreter for tonight. So that way everyone has full access, both deaf and hearing. Give me 1 second because I'm still new to some of this live streaming technology. So I just wanted to kind of take a peek over here on YouTube to see how things are working over there. So awesome. Okay, so again, tonight our discussion is about understanding the woman from a man's perspective. And so we want to hear again from Uncle Isaiah. And if you joined us last time, he gave us some good nuggets. I have my notes here from the last time that we talked. One of the things that stood out to me, he said, what you think you know is not what you think you know. So you may think you know something, but it may not really be, in fact, what is reality. Because the thing is that oftentimes we make assumptions. And I think that's one thing that we do as men and women, is that we make assumptions about each other based on our past experiences. And sometimes we make those assumptions based on our past pain. And so sometimes it can be difficult when coming into a new relationship. Sometimes it can be difficult when we encounter someone who's different than the person that we were with before, or if there's some similarities and we, may get a little nervous because we take those past pains and bring them into our present. So anyway, I'm not going to belabor that point and go into too much detail on that because I really want to jump into tonight's topic with Uncle Isaiah. Just a little more that I want to give you about him. Uncle Isaiah, also AKA Isaiah Whalum. He has 10 years of experience in the corporate world in terms of training and team building. He also has served for over 10 years as a youth minister and as a family pastor and minister, 16 years as an executive chef, as well as a business owner, a father, and he's currently producing, you guys get ready for this, I believe he's launching it this March. But he is launching his podcast, which is called Daddy's Plate. And Daddy's Plate is where the focus is on the ups and downs of just being a dad. And so, I'll try to post, if not somehow through the stream today, I'll post where you can connect with him on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, things of that nature. If I can't get it live in the stream, I'll definitely add it in the comments and post it later on my social media pages. So again, we're happy to have Uncle Isaiah with us tonight. And so we're going to go ahead and get started with the topic for tonight. So let me get you on here, unmute you. Uncle Isaiah, how's it going?
It's going great. It's going great. Good to be here again and see what interesting things we can drum up tonight.
Yes, well, it's going to be interesting. And like the old folks would say, it's good to be here in the land of the living.
Yes, it is. It's good to be here.
Yes, amen. So yeah, I was just kind of, recapping a little bit. I didn't recap a lot. I'm gonna just kind of show, like, these are my notes from last time.
Oh
I got
wow.
all kind of notes from stuff that you were saying because it was so good. And man, I just felt like we had some good conversation. And then afterwards,
Mhm.
I had some people reach out and kind of give me their opinions, and they really enjoyed the segment last time. And then had some other comments and things. So, but what we're talking about tonight is understanding the woman. So last week we talked about man secrets. I know you didn't really give us a lot of man secrets,
Mm-mm.
but whatever. But tonight, I thought it would be really interesting because, us as women, we get together, we chit chat, and we're like, we talk about our experiences, our dating experiences. But for someone like myself who did not grow up with a brother, I
Mhm.
have all sisters, oftentimes I feel like us as women, and I think men do this too, vice versa. We have these ideas and perceptions about a man that may not be accurate. They may be based off of our past pain. They may be based off of maybe men that we've watched, whether it was, in school, maybe a teacher or at church or in these different uncles, whoever it is. But it's not been often that an uncle, let's say, would sit down and say, let me talk to you about understanding us men, you see.
Mhm.
And so I thought it would be very interesting for us women to hear from the man's perspective, how you all view us and what your experience is of us to help us better understand how to connect and relate with men. So one of the things, as we were kind of talking about our subject tonight, you and I, you talked about that men and women are more alike than we are different. Can you tell me more about that?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Great starting point. Um, through throughout, um, I mean, we can start back if we examine the Bible. If we look at the Bible,
Okay. Okay.
right? On first glance, it would appear that there is a great difference between men and women.
Mm-hmm.
You know, especially if you read the King James version and you don't read any other version. After you get through the thou, thee, and
Okay.
all that stuff, you will determine that, man, it's a great difference.
Hmm.
But then as you live life a little bit, and I think you have certain life experiences and you interact more with the opposite sex, you realize, hey, we got things in common more than we have not in common.
Mm-hmm.
So, um, when you think about trying to get to know each other, I tell a lot of people this. One of the biggest secrets I found out about women was from watching my daughters.
Okay.
And this is it. I'm about to tell a woman's secret now. I'm about to
Oh,
tell.
let's see. I'm gonna see if you get this woman's
I
secret
I,
right.
I know this is about to blow everybody's mind. Um, you guys are born into the world. You're just baby little women.
Okay.
And then as you grow, it's kind of like your phone, at 2 a.m. in the morning, it says the phone updated and restart your phone for the new update to take effect.
Okay.
That's what happens to you guys. So you're little, like I remember when Isabella was maybe 3 or 4. And one day we were sitting on the couch and I was like, hey, come sit in daddy's lap and come sit. She's like, Daddy, I don't feel like sitting in your lap. And I was like, what? So I was like, okay, then. So then she comes and she lays down on the couch, but she puts her foot on me. So I said, if you want to sit up on me, get your foot off me. She said, I didn't say I didn't want to touch you. I just didn't want to sit in your lap. Revelation. I was like, there it is. You're doing woman stuff, and you're 4. All
So
right.
what was the woman stuff?
That was it. Like
Uh-huh.
you don't want to be under me, but you want to be near me.
Okay. Okay.
Right? Right?
Okay.
Right? Yes,
Okay.
yeah. Okay. Guess what? Me and we're the same way.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Like, hey, you do not have to be in the same room with me because I'm trying to watch this game. I don't want you asking me 34 questions. Hey, but as long as I know you're in the house and you're all right, everything's fine.
Right. 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 Right.
See how that's similar,
Mm-hmm.
but the dine is just a little bit different because women may say, I I don't want you to be on my nerves because you're getting on my nerves. But why you had to move and sit in that chair instead of just sitting right here next to me?
Okay. Right. Right. Right.
Right? You know where it becomes confusing? It's done completely out of order. So let me give you an example.
Okay.
I got to get up and go to work. I got to go to work. All you do is work. Well, then I'm going to take some time off. When you going back to work? You've been off enough. Hey, you don't spend enough time with me. Hey, what you want to do? You know, I thought about we should do this. I mean, I was trying to have some me time. Now I'm confused because
Mm-hmm.
you just got through saying I work too much. I don't spend time with you, and whatever else you can come up with. And then I try to apply that thing
Mm-hmm.
into my application. I'm further confused because now you're telling me I was wrong. I
So,
was wrong.
but what I'm hearing is sounds like a lack of communicating well
It is.
because
It
yeah,
is.
because it's like what you're saying is that a person says a thing and then so like going back to the example that you used with Isabella, she said she didn't want to sit in your lap and then she put her foot on you and you're like, well, I thought you didn't want to be near me. So there was an assumption made that her not wanting to sit in your lap was her not wanting to be near you. And it's like, whoa, 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 like that's not what I said. So again, going back to, you know, I want to spend more time with you, or you know, the example that you gave about like taking time off of work. It sounds like a communication issue.
It is that. And then to even further simplify it, remember last week, before it can be we, it has to be me.
Yes, come
All
on
right.
now. Mm-hmm.
So sometimes in the me, we don't even understand how we communicate.
Yeah.
I am an individual, and you may be struggling at the how do I communicate? Now, somebody may say, well, that's a interesting question, but it's a little bit deeper than just how do I communicate? Well, you know, I know how to talk to people. Do you? Do you really? You sure you
Mm-hmm.
do?
Mm-hmm.
And then because if I have a tough time communicate, because all of us talk to ourselves, some out loud, some we just use our in our head voice.
Right. Right.
And if you're sitting there talking to yourself and you scratching your own head, I'm telling yourself like, what did I mean by that?
Right.
Or you're talking to somebody and you're confused about what you're saying, and then you hit that, and I mean, you know what I'm trying to say. No, I don't know what you're trying to say.
Right. Right. Right.
You
Right.
should know what you're trying to say. So, in order for me to clearly communicate with others, first I have to understand how I communicate. How do I get my point across? Am I a man of a lot of words, or am I a man of hardly any words?
Mm-hmm.
Am I a man? You know, I got to use my hands when I talk. Do I, or am I? Do I use a lot of examples? Or you know, what is it? How do I get the message to you?
Right.
While I'm working on that, then I have to also understand. Now I'm trying to connect my life with somebody else, and I have to understand how they communicate.
Right.
Now,
Right.
here's the challenge: they may not even know how they communicate.
Can I ask you something though?
Yes.
I know I'm cutting you off here, but I'm curious because communication is so important, and Do you think though that women tend to know, because what I hear you saying is you have to know yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that women know self sometimes more than the man knows himself? So, like for example, I may have already kind of done a self check in with myself and say, okay, I know how I communicate. I know how I operate. I know these things about myself. I feel like I can clearly communicate that to someone else. Do you feel like men take the time to really say, to kind of take a self inventory and know themselves so they can clearly communicate to someone else who they are and how they operate?
I'm going to say right off the bat with that question, my answer is no.
Okay.
Not all the time, because generally our communication doesn't get better until it's challenged.
Mm.
All right.
Mm.
So we may go through life in a situation where I never really had to communicate that clear. Right. At home, I just did what I was told. You
Okay.
know, for some men, if you have a domineering mama, right, or as I like to call sometimes, you got a mama girlfriend. Where your mama is your girl, your mama make you her boyfriend, so she kind of like take out on you what went bad or didn't go right in her relationships.
Mm-hmm.
So she dominates the son.
Okay.
Which makes it impossible for him to share with his mother how he really feels about a thing.
Mm-hmm.
You try and talk to mama, boy, what's wrong? Spit it out. You're just not okay. So that you're dealing with that kind of situation.
Yeah.
Then you become an adult. You may not be in a place on your job where you can be vocal. There's so many dynamics into that. So
Okay.
if I'm not given the opportunity to practice clear communication,
Yeah.
I'm going to struggle with that in silent and out loud
Okay.
until it's challenged.
Okay.
Usually it's challenged in trouble. You get in trouble, you better speak up for yourself, or whatever. Oh man, I better say something before I go to jail, or whatever that trouble may look like.
Mm-hmm.
Then it could be challenged in a meaningful relationship. In walks the woman who's clear about what she wants and can communicate well. She likes me, I like her, but I'm a little shy because I have this thing that I haven't dealt with, which is communicating.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Sometimes I think you ladies put it like this when you're introduced to a thing that a man doesn't do well.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't do it well, I tend to be a little timid or I don't approach it. This is what you guys say. You ready?
Yeah.
He's intimidated by me.
Okay. I'm listening.
That's not always true. The thing that's in between us that is posing the challenge, I'm being challenged on. Sometimes men, if we've grown up in a situation where nobody taught us how to handle conflict, how to approach conflict, how to have conflict resolution, how to diffuse the situation, all these skill sets that a lot of times people think because you're a man, they're just in you to do. That's not true, because if I haven't had to use it or apply it or not given the chance to do it, how then, or as I like to say sometimes, how now, brown cow, can you do these things? You cannot. So it becomes a challenge. So now you're engaging with somebody who, for the most part, has some mastery in it. I don't. See the conflict? So now I'm struggling communicating. I don't know how to get this out. And sometimes patience will break because, you got a nice suit on. You look like you got it together, well put together, and you can't talk.
Mm-hmm.
You can't express your feelings.
Right, right,
Right.
right.
So now anybody would feel like, I feel like I've been catfished, or I feel like somebody hasn't been truthful. But sometimes it's just this simple. I hadn't had to. I did not have to use this skill set until now. And now I'm 40.
Yeah.
Everybody else was fine because I took them out with, I was able to smoke screen it with dates and trips and purses and all this kind of stuff. And you mean you don't want any of that? You want to sit down and talk? We got a problem. Houston, we got a problem.
Hmm. And that's interesting because, I've talked to several people and I hear a lot of times, when you're in a certain, um, when you're in a certain type of people, you're the people that are around you, you may not realize that there are these other types of women. I'm going to say women out there. And so, like you talked about, like, because there's some women who like, the purses and the trips and all these things,
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like in some ways, sometimes men are conditioned to think that that's every woman, But like those types of things, now I do like going on trips, but I can take myself on my own trips. But
Mm-hmm.
like things, those do not really interest me in the way they do other women. And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that, but it seems like sometimes that men think that, well, let me say this, because you've said this a couple of times, and it kind of makes me kind of like cringe a little bit because I cannot stand it
Mm-hmm.
when people say, particularly men say, you women, or
Mm.
y'all.
Make you cringe, don't it?
Oh,
Make
like,
you cringe. You know I like saying that? Because that's what you guys say. You men. You you put us, not all women. Let me say that.
thank you. Come on. Thank
Not
you.
all women, but most women,
Uh-huh.
just like most men,
Okay.
we categorize,
Mm-hmm.
we label, we brand everybody generally the same.
Okay. And
And
go ahead, go
go
ahead, go
ahead.
ahead. No, no, no,
And
go ahead.
and because of that, it that's where the conflict between us gets even heavier, because you have some men who are saying all women just alike.
Yeah.
All women, and then you have some women who believe the same. All men are just alike. It's not true.
Right.
And see how that make, I hate being categorized. I hate being lumped into these things.
Right.
Well, to go back to, okay, so think about you when I gave the example of some men smoke screen their inadequacies by I take you out, you can spend my money, you do all these things and all this kind of stuff, right? Well, if you pose that to some women, that maybe he's doing that because of something he can't deal with well.
Mm-hmm.
Some women will argue and say, "No, that's what he's supposed to do. If a man gonna be with me, he need to be taking me out. He need to be, you know, giving me that bag and all these things."
Mm-hmm.
Well, what ends up happening now? A group of men is setting a precedence for the rest of the men that becomes a difficult task to follow.
Mm-hmm.
Vice versa with women. If every woman that a man looks at, if
Mm-hmm.
every man looks at, guess what's going to happen? Especially in the day and time of the Instagram model and all these kind of things, you're going to believe everybody out here with coconut oil and eyelashes and all this kind of stuff, no stretch mark. And so now
Mm-hmm.
you're messed up because you can't take the stretch mark chick.
Mm-hmm.
You can't take the brother that got a little extra skin on his chest, you
Mm-hmm.
know, because in our minds we are being programmed to believe that things should be just as so,
What
just
we
as so.
see in terms of
What we see,
commercialized or social
correct,
media.
correct.
Hmm. Yeah, I think that I think there's a lot of layers to the idea that we lump each other into groups. I think we even do that racially, you know. Sometimes you have to be careful to know that every white person is not a Karen, you
Right.
know. Now there might be plenty of Karens out there, but you can't just say like all of them are Karens, you know. So I think we do that in a lot of different ways, whether it's racially or
Mhm.
in terms of men and women, and then in terms of even just like deaf and hearing, all deaf people are not the same, all hearing people are not the same, all white people are not the same, all black people, all men, all women, that whole kind of a thing. And so what do you suggest though when we think about dating relationships and when we think about men understanding the woman? What do you suggest for a man who maybe has the mindset where they categorize women? Because one of the things I was saying at the beginning was that a lot of times we as men and women approach a relationship and we bring in our past. We bring in our past pains. We bring in our past experiences. So let's say, you was with somebody and she was crazy. She was cray cray, and then let's say if you see something
Mhm.
in a new situation and it makes your head go, like, am I seeing, like, is that the same thing? What's happening? But what do you suggest in terms of men really understanding women, and if they have the mindset of this right here is women, and all of their bad experiences go into this container, and this is the way they carry this weight, they carry this baggage, if you will, they carry this bondage with them, and it becomes a barrier between them and the next potential
Mhm.
healthy relationship. I don't know. So what would you suggest for someone who has that categorizing mindset and finds it difficult to see the uniqueness of a woman separate from the category?
You know, here's the thing, and not to be, I'm not going to say that. First of all, for a man to overcome that challenge, it's a spiritual aspect first and foremost,
Mm-hmm.
and here it is. You have to be able to. Your heart has to be healed.
Mm-hmm.
If your heart isn't healed, guess what? It is
Hmm.
no way that you're going to be able to love free and clear and give
Mm.
newness to a situation or anything. That's for men and women. So
Mm-hmm.
everybody realize that. You
Mm-hmm.
so that means you have to say, God, heal my heart. Heal my
Yeah.
heart. Now, you know what that looks like, and he knows what that looks like. So you have to be very transparent about that kind of situation.
Mm-hmm.
Then from there, I think what is so necessary is sometimes for men, we got to get past the fact that you're fine.
Okay.
Right? You're good
Elaborate.
looking.
Uh-huh.
You're
Okay.
good looking.
Uh-huh.
And you get stuck right there in the good looking.
Mm-hmm.
But there's some good looking things that are very hazardous to your health.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Okay. Let me give an example. I don't like snakes in any
Okay.
shape, form, or fashion. But there are some people out there that, ooh, snake skin is beautiful. I want snake skin shoes, or, all that kind of stuff. I don't. As beautiful as that skin may appear, I don't want a snake around me
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
at all. At all. And I
Mm-hmm.
think what people miss if you didn't pay attention in nature science or whatever, it's that mesmerizing pattern of scales that a snake draws their prey in with.
Okay.
All right. Then at that point, you're stuck right there. So you can't get past it. And there are some very beautiful flowers that are very poisonous to the touch. I can sit there and go down the list of things that are beautiful and deadly at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Now, am I saying women can be beautiful and deadly? Of course I am.
Ah! Wait one ghetto second.
Especially if you pick and stay stuck in her beauty. Because for men, once we get the woman and we realize you fine and all that good stuff, now we want to know what's the value added? What do you bring to the table?
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is when it gets tricky because there's still a lot of us as men, we don't even know what we want you to bring to the table.
Okay.
Because we're going off of what daddy said or granddad or grandmama or auntie said that the good woman should be. But that doesn't, but what about the good woman for me?
Yeah.
All right. So that's where it gets tricky because you're trying to apply in a universal concept to something that's not universal. It's intricately, specifically designed for me. Now, how do I go through this? So for men, it starts with being able to quickly realize, oh, she's fine. Right? When God brought Eve to Adam, the first thing Adam said was, mighty fine. Then after that, it went to a lot of development. They developed their relationship. The reason why we know they developed their relationship, because when Eve was talking to the snake, and the snake convinced her that God was holding something from you guys. And she goes to Adam and says, hey, guess what the snake told me? And then after she told him what the snake told her, she presented him with the fruit. Now, see, all right. At that point, a decision was clearly made. And because of the persuasion, Adam said, well, if nothing happened to you, surely there's nothing that's going to happen to me. And what happened? We already know what happened.
Right.
Now, a lot of times, women get the heat and flack for that. But that's not how it goes. It was a duality in that. And guess what the duality was? Adam, maybe if you move past her being fine and you were just stuck on being fine, you would have noticed that she was over there talking to the snake. You didn't notice she was over there talking to the snake, buddy? You didn't notice that. What were you noticing?
What were you doing? Yeah.
What were you doing that you did not pay attention to what was taking her attention? So for men, we have to get past the outer part. It's okay to be like, it's fine. That's why we want it. There's no man out here saying, oh, I just want me an ugly woman.
Right. I don't think there's no woman out here that's saying that either.
My daddy shared this nugget with me. He said, son, you don't want a woman that no other man wants. You better think about that. Let that marinate.
Right.
Marinate cook. Let the gravy build on that.
Yeah.
Right? So let me tell you why that's important. If you get a woman that don't nobody else want, you better ask your question, why don't nobody else want her? Why am I the only person who want her? And don't try to fool yourself and be like, God, set her apart for me. you better, you don't think that. You really better do some, hey, don't nobody ask you for your phone number? No, I go to the store, don't nobody ever ask me for my phone number. You better put the car in new, you better, wait a minute. Wait a minute. See, because, and like, well, exactly what I'm saying, for men as it relates to women, it applies for women when it comes to men.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
At that point, it helps you ask some more concentrated questions. Don't nobody ask you for your phone number. Ain't nobody ask you out for a date, and they can miss you with all this spiritual stuff. You know what? I think I'm dating Jesus. No, you're not. Jesus does not want you like that. He wants you. He wants your soul to be right. He
Right.
he is not out here talking about I got plenty of women. Now Jesus ain't saying that. So if you pay attention, that should make you ask more questions. So after I move past you being fine, what comes next for most men? How do you take care of yourself?
Mm-hmm.
Like we looking at your toenails. We looking at you. We
Right.
won't. I hope when we go out on this date, it's sandal season. I I want to look at your feet. Are they pleasant? Are they easy to look at? Am I gonna look down there? If you see me looking down, if I notice you see me looking down and you start trying to curl your toes up and stuff, hey, hey, make a little or hey, are your nails, do you do how's your overall hygiene?
Mm-hmm.
Like, how do you smell like a woman supposed to smell? You know,
Right.
you know, those are important things. Somebody may say, well, that's superficial. No, because on our initial conquest for you, we're looking for femininity.
Mm-hmm.
Your femininity should draw me out. Oh my God. What was that? It was something about her.
Yeah.
If she's missing femininity, yeah, you might. She probably need to be on tree a little bit longer to get right.
Look, I want to ask you something. I want to chime in here because I want to back up to something that you said. Because I think you're right in the sense. Well, let me just. So you were talking about like if nobody's asked you for your number, if you've not been out. I have encountered people who, and this kind of goes back to the idea of what do you bring to the table. And then I pulled out from my information from last week. And I don't know what the statistics are generally, but one statistic that I found said that 7 out of 10 Black women are unmarried, and 3 out of 10 may never marry. And another thing, one of the other things it talked about was successful women, not even just Black women, but successful women are being single longer and may never get married. And so, one of the things that I think when I think about what you bring to the table, I know that it seems like a lot of women are maybe sometimes a little further along in education than men are. So maybe they have a master's degree, or maybe they have a degree, period, and maybe the man doesn't. And so maybe a woman seems more accomplished. And I feel like sometimes men take these things that women have achieved in a way, almost because we've had to some degree. When you think of just all the things, if we think there are historical factors to this, there are lots of layers to it. But, I've heard people say, that they may be intimidated to ask a woman. And yes, she may look fine, but maybe there are other things about her that they know, or maybe there's just something about her that is intimidating. I know you said in terms of communication, that sometimes men don't communicate well until they're challenged. And it's not that they're intimidated, but I have actually heard men have told me that like I can be intimidating. I'm like, like they were like, if you were just in like a Walmart, I don't think I would come and ask you for your number. And I'm like, in Walmart? Like, so I think what would you say to the idea of what you bring to the table? And do you feel like that there are times where men may see a woman who's successful, whatever that means, okay? They may see a woman who might be more successful than them in their eyes, and that causes them to maybe not want to ask them out on a date, or may make them feel like that's a place. I don't know. They're reluctant to entertain that potential woman. So like, what would you say to the idea of, when you talk about what you bring to the table, and when you talk about there be maybe some differences in what, like a successful woman and a man feeling like he's intimidated to talk to her. Like, I don't know, talk to me some about that, because I feel like that's something that we as women deal with. And there are lots of statistics out there about women who have been successful in life and still single.
So when I hear that, and I have sisters, I got cousins, I got friends. I mean, when I hear women say that, or a man saying, a man told me that he was intimidated or whatever. What I think women need to understand, white, black, Asian, whatever, is think about a man. Think about a man, right? Okay, this may not apply to all men, but I think most men in general.
Mm-hmm.
Intimidation. If you feel intimidated, that's a form of fear.
Okay.
That's a form of fear. If you feel intimidated.
Okay.
There's a partner to fear that goes hand in hand, and it's called courage. When fear arises, most men can say, nevertheless, I'm gonna press.
Okay.
Right. I'm it's kind of like facing a bully.
Okay.
Sooner or later, I'm gonna say, no, this ain't going nowhere. You're not taking my milk money. You just got to punch me in the eye. It's going down. So an intimidation as it relates to a woman being successful or whatever, I think what men have to be honest about, some men, not all men, because there are men that have great success as well. And I think on the other side of that, there are women that feel intimidated to, if a man is successful, but not as much as a man does towards a woman, because some women feel like if the man is successful, he's supposed to be, because I'm going to meet him at the 7-Eleven while I was buying a big gulp, and he going to come in and just swoop me off my feet and take me on.
A big gulp.
Well, I mean, I like big gulps, but some women think that.
Uh-huh.
So there's no need for me to feel intimidated, because my Prince Charming is going to drive up while I got the hair bunted on and take me away from this, like Calgon.
Mm-hmm.
Not people probably don't even know what Calgon is. I probably should
I know. I know.
So, but for men, when a man says that I was intimidated, something should rise up in him and make him want to go see why. And that woman may inspire him or challenge him or motivate him to reach and go for things in areas of his life that he never thought about doing.
Mm-hmm.
So if a man says, "Oh, I'm intimidated," if I see you at Walmart, I didn't want to come up and say nothing to you. I mean, I just saw you. Your beauty is intimidating. That means there's an inadequacy within that cat that he just can't overcome, or he's unwilling to overcome.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times I think that makes women, especially when you think about the statistics of Black women that are choosing professional pursuits, and then think about this: you're doing these things so eventually you can share them with somebody, because that's a part of your life and your love. You want success, and then you want to be able to share it with somebody. But it's sad for you to think, or something makes you think, I guess I'm just going to have to forsake all of that because somebody's intimidated by me. I don't want to make a man feel Well, I don't think you're dealing with a man then. I think that's what you have to you have to evaluate. Men, we're supposed to be ravishing. I mean, we're supposed to be ready to, you who said something? Somebody say something? I'm ready, and if you're not getting that, I don't know how you could really, as a woman, I don't know how you can untap that in a man. That's something that the man has to resolve. He has to do. And if he's unwilling to do that, or if he doesn't find you that attractive, that he's willing to go further than that limitation, well, guess what? When you see me in the streets, you should walk on by. Because what does that mean that's going to happen? What's going to be the tail of the tape in trying to develop this relationship? This woman is successful. She's pursued these things, and because he feels less than and inadequate, he's going to put his foot out the wagon and try to slow her velocity down. He's going to try to kill her momentum. Then you're with somebody, you can't fulfill a man's passion is not intimacy. That's not what our passion is. Our passion is completion. I took these hands and I started with nothing and I made it into something. Now that's passion fulfilled. And when our passion fulfilled, good God Almighty, girl, we something to deal with. It makes you say Mufasa. Ooh, say it again. But because I am fulfilled, I am accomplished. A man could lay bricks if he feels accomplished and his passion is fulfilled. If he meets a woman and she could have 3 PhDs, he will not feel intimidated and he will not feel less than, because his pursuits in life, he's achieved them. If he's not achieved them, it's going to be kind of difficult, because he will sometimes, as men, will lean on you guys to fulfill a passion, and it's misconstrued. It has nothing to do with you physically. It's something about us that we're not building. We're not gathering. We're not hunting. We're not doing these things that are innate. That's what we're wired to do. And if we're not doing that, yes, that's going to make the women feel like, where's the man for me? Where's the man for me? Why don't I have anybody? I mean, I take care of myself. I'm doing all these great things. You seem like somebody would want me. Yes and no, But if you're in a situation where you're around men and it's this question of he's intimidated, or even for women to think that man is intimidated, but something should make that man rise up. And if he's not doing that, that means that's not the man for you. You're just not the woman that's going to draw that out of him. And that's a reality. And sometimes we can't deal with that reality because I really wanted that man. And that's not the man for you. But you really want him. Man, I really want him. Why I can't have him? That's not the man for you. Throw him back. Throw him back. He'll be okay. He will be okay. And the same applies for women. So again, remember I told you, I don't tell men secrets, but I will tell you this from a man's perspective.
Oh, I thought you were about to tell a woman's secret. I was gonna be like, well, hold
no,
on.
I don't know no women's secrets. I don't know no. The same thing happens to men. We will find a woman and realize, hey, she doesn't do it for me. Not in all areas. Now, is the woman going to say, I'm intimidated by him? Probably not. She would probably never say that, because it's easy to say, especially in today's society, if it doesn't work well, it's easy to say, it's the man's fault. It's something about him. He just
Mm-hmm.
couldn't handle me being a woman or whatever. And sometimes, no, I couldn't handle the fact that you put all the clothes in the washing machine without separating them and you wash them together.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't handle that.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't handle the fact that um, you're too moody.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a moody person. You're very moody,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And so there's this notion that when it comes to men and whatever a woman challenges are, we're just supposed to take them. Well, you know, she a woman. That's what coming. And again, does that if I tell you I don't like salmon and you keep trying to fix salmon, I don't care how you cook it. I don't like it.
Yeah.
And you keep trying to serve that up to me. But somebody is telling me, well, you know, that's just how women are, and you just gotta take that. No, no, no. See, and it's because of that. Think about the rate uh that people get divorced.
Mm-hmm.
Think about the rate that people get divorced. Okay, think about the pandemic. The pandemic of COVID start unraveling relationships. Now, you think COVID did that? No, COVID didn't do it. You just couldn't go nowhere. See, you
Right.
just didn't have your escape anymore. You
Right.
couldn't go to Walmart and walk around Walmart for 2 or 3 hours because you bemoaned going home. You were at home and you were forced to say, I can't take this anymore. Men and women.
Right.
Men
That's
and women.
yeah, that's what I kind of want to go back to, like, men and women. This is definitely a men and women thing. Um it's interesting because what I'm hearing, and this is kind of one of the things we said at the top of the episode, is that we're more alike than we are different. Um because one, going back to the idea of knowing yourself. You've really got to know yourself. You got to know. I always like to say, and I probably said this on the last one, know you're crazy, because we all have things within us that impacts the way we view the world, the way we view ourselves, the way we view others, and the way we view and approach relationships. And
Mm-hmm.
so you've got to know yourself. That's very key, but I do think that, again, grouping and categorizing, is something that is a barrier between men and women having healthy relationships. You've touched on a lot of different things. I want to kind of shift a little bit as we get to, our time coming close to an end. When we think of men understanding women, or understanding women from a man's perspective, I kind of did some research and did some kind of like gathered some information of things that women commonly say that they wish men knew or realized what was really important to us as women. So I kind of want to throw out some of these things and get your perspective about some of these things. So, for example, you know, we talked a little bit earlier about, things like bags and purses and this, that, and all those types of things. But I feel like for a lot of women, it's not these big gestures, but a lot of times it's the small things that are really important, whether it's
Mm-hmm.
doing the small things or noticing the small things. But like those are important. I feel like sometimes men, I wonder, do you feel like men overlook those things? Um, do you feel like men recognize that sometimes just the small things can be very important? Because
Mm-hmm.
that's one of the common things that women have said, is that, small things are important as opposed to these big things.
I think for most men, again, it's we it seems to be a common theme of what I've been saying is that we have to learn. We have to learn. A lot of times, women is just a part of you guys to You pay attention to small detail,
Mm.
right? For most men, we have to learn to pay attention to small detail, right? And okay, so uh being able to identify the small details that are important to your woman or the woman you're involved with. Uh, Again, it starts with if you find that it's becoming a challenge, that means you guys, hey, help me with this. Help me with this. What's important to you? Like tell me because uh, you know, as much as I would like to think, I don't have ESP. I got ESPN, but I don't. I don't have uh, telepathic powers. I can't
Right.
read your mind. And a lot of times, I think what women don't misunderstand about us is that we don't like to play the you should know game.
Mm-hmm.
We don't like that.
Yeah, I'm
Tell
definitely yes.
tell us.
Yes.
Tell us. Don't hit me with the you should know. Because when you say you should know, you're insinuating that I should be paying attention to the small details. And I'm not equipped to pay attention to the small details when I'm looking at the big details in front of me.
Right. 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 Right.
Right? I did I think what happens is if we're not having a good open conversation to understand likes and dislikes or what really what gets me, uh, um, that's a challenge within itself. So I think to overcome that is it's okay to tell your man some of the little things. Hey, I like when I put on a dress and you notice I put on a dress and you tell me I look pretty.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. We may a lot of times, you know what? We're thinking it, we just didn't say it.
Mm-hmm.
She look nice. And so we don't know that, hey, let it come out of your mind and flow through your mouth. All
Right.
right. So sometimes we might need a little encouraging. And you know how you encourage us? Oh, you look good today, boy. Right? And so what we end up doing, what that I should say that back. So now we're yeah, okay. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I went and got my nails done, and you ride tapping your fingers, you bring them a drink, and you see my nails, and all right, okay. So sometimes we need a little coaching
Mm-hmm.
in that, and I don't think there's anything wrong because I think most men
Right.
would say, "Thank you for because I don't know, and I can't read your mind. So if you help me with that,
Right. Help me help you help you. Help me.
right?
Help
Help me,
you.
help you, help me, help us."
Right. And I think you made a good point that I think is important to kind of talk just briefly talk about is that um we can't men and women are just different. Our brains are actually created differently. And so we can't expect as a woman for a man to think like we do and vice versa, because one, that's just not how we were created. The difference is good because they're supposed to complement each other. And so I
Mhm.
think you're right that we can't say, well, you should have known, and you should have. I don't like shoulds, because those are expectations, oftentimes unspoken expectations. And so when those unspoken expectations go unmet, then you have a lot of conflict, and
Mhm.
you have disagreement and tension and things of that nature. And so there's so many things that we could continue to talk about, but we are like out of time already. Just I'm gonna just throw out a few more things here that are some common things that I in my gathering of information that women are important to women in
Mhm.
relationships. And so one is that we want to feel like a priority. We want to know that we are wanted by the person who is interested or pursuing us. We want to feel loved and respected. And here's one I think is important. We don't have time for this one tonight, but I think it's a key one, is that we want a man to lead. Now, again, what we're talking about is not a cookie cutter for all men and all women, but I think there are a lot of women who want a man to lead, and we lead our lives, so to speak, because we have to by default.
Mm-hmm.
Like for me, like I'm not gonna go out here and live on the street and not work and not, be about my business. You know what I'm saying? But coming alongside with a partner, you want that leadership, so that we don't have to take on the role, so to speak, of both man and woman.
Mm-hmm.
And then another thing that one that kind of kept coming up was that is just, chivalry is not dead,
No,
and
no.
that, but I think again, that's not something that we typically see in our culture or see being modeled before us. And so I think it's really important how dads live out their life with their wife. And even if you're not married to your children's mother, how do you treat them? That can show them how to treat a woman. So that was one of the things that kept coming up. And then just it's important, like a lot of times when us as women, when we're sharing something, sometimes we just want you to listen and be interested and just listen, but we don't necessarily want you to fix anything. But I know from experience and what people have said, when men hear the problem, they ready to fix it. And we're
Mm-hmm.
like, no, I just really want you to listen. And sometimes men can be like, well, ain't that a waste of time? No, sometimes that's all we need is a man to listen. I think those are all the ones that I'm going to share tonight. Those are some of the top ones that, kept coming up. And again, I know we don't have a lot of time to go into those in detail. Is there any last words you want to say, whether it's based off some of the things that I shared or just in general? What would be some lasting comments, brief, that you would have for men to understand us as women and how to have a healthy relationship or even approach it in a healthy way?
I think the biggest thing for men is to understand that all of us, I mean, even women, I think all of us have a uniquely different fingerprint or footprint,
Mm-hmm.
not just in a digital or technology sense, but as a human being. We're like snowflakes. None of us are 100% alike. Snow is snow, but none of the snowflakes
Come
are
on
alike,
now. Come on
right?
now. That's a preach right
And
there.
and that's what we're breaking down as a society. We're making it more difficult because we keep trying to say we're all the same, and we're not. We all have needs. Your number one may be my number 12, you know, and there's not that doesn't necessarily mean that we need to sit down and chronologically make our need list look alike. It's just being able to do this thing. A lot of times people don't practice reciprocity. Give me what I give you. It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't have to be the exact same. It's
Right.
the effort. It's the effort. So
Yes.
if you're putting forth your best effort in reciprocity, a lot of these things will kind of subside because you can't get up. I'm gonna wait to see if he say good morning, but you don't say good morning, so I'm not gonna say good morning. See how
Right.
that works?
Right. Right.
Now, now, if you say good morning, even if I don't say good morning back, it shouldn't stop you from saying good morning, because again, I think there's a book that tells us that heaping good on someone is like pouring hot coals on their head.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
so I at some point I have no choice but to say good morning,
Mm-hmm.
even
Mm-hmm.
if I growl at it. And so if we could learn reciprocity, being able to give somebody what they give me, and here it is, watch this, even if they don't give it to me, I'm showing you how I think if we do this, it makes it better.
Mm-hmm.
Don't, don't try to gut check me because you're trying to check me and impose your will on me, but then you won't do what you're asking me to do.
Yeah.
Don't call me
Yeah.
talking about where you at. What you mean calling me talking about where I'm at, and you don't even call and check in?
Mm-hmm.
You see the breakdown in that, and so I think if we start understanding that, if we start understanding me before we, I need to know myself. I need to be able to know myself before I could ever try to connect with somebody else because it's not
Mm-hmm.
it's not going to work the way you think it's going to work. And those are
Right.
where the challenges lay. And then just give people the same amount of grace and compassion that you want. And I think that's the problem right now, especially in relationships. There's an amount of grace and compassion. Does anybody know what that amount is? No, but we all want it. We
Right.
all want it. So we receive it this way. It's just tough for us to
Yeah.
give it that
Give
way.
and receive it this
Right.
way. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so because we struggle with that, we can't wait for the story to be written. We're impatient. We hey, if it ain't done by now, it's and so it doesn't work that way. And as long as we don't put these principles first, I don't care what your relationship is. I don't care if you're trying to throw jacks. It's not gonna work
Right.
because that creates harmony. If you can't create harmony and synergy, what do you got?
Yeah.
Turmoil.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Good stuff. Good stuff. Thank you so much for joining us tonight again, Uncle Isaiah. We got to get you a t-shirt that says Uncle Isaiah on it.
Yeah,
This is good stuff. Again, we could talk about this. We could probably do this kind of episode all year long. But what I wanted to do, particularly this month of February, was talk about relationships. Obviously, we know Valentine's Day is coming up, a week from today. And so we will have another episode next Monday on Valentine's Day. So you all join us because I'm going to have married couples talk about the truth about marriage. A lot of single people out there like, when, why, and all of that, waiting on who that person is. Maybe you've been in a relationship, maybe you've been married, maybe you've been divorced, maybe whatever it is, you look at married people and we think, wow, look at their relationship. But what we don't realize is what it took to get that relationship to where it is. And so I want married people to talk about, yes, marriage is great. It's a blessing, all of these great things, but it's hard work. I've heard
right,
somebody even say marriage is a full-time job.
right,
And so I
right,
think single people have to consider, not to consider marriage or take it lightly, but it's something you need to make sure that you're out here preparing yourself so that when that time comes for you, that you're ready.
hmm
But also knowing that once you get married, there's still a lot of growing that has to happen. So join us next week on Mental Health Monday. We're going to have couples talk about the truth about marriage so that we can have a better focus about marriage. And I wanted to do that on Valentine's Day because a lot of times single people are just, feeling down and discouraged. But again, I think it's important for us to understand that marriage is hard work. And
right,
so, take joy in your singleness because, there's joy in both single and married. So
hmm
I won't belabor this any longer. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you again, Isaiah, for joining us. And thank you again, Keremy, for interpreting for us tonight. Feel free to like, share, do all that other stuff, let people know about our Mental Health Mondays. And again, we'll see you all next week here on the broadcast to talk about the truth about marriage. You all have a great night and see you next week. Bye.